What up? What up? It's the Athletic Hockey Show for May 6th, 2026. I'm Sean Gentili. I'm here with Frankie Corrado and Sean McIndoe. We're going to talk about the Western Conference semifinals. We're probably going to talk a little Canes Flyers because that's the series I'm on. But we are going to start with the NHL Draft Lottery. I'll recount my evening. I took a little nap. Woke up at about 7:22 to some real action in the Wednesday show group chat, which over the last couple of weeks has taken a slightly negative tone about the Toronto Maple Leafs. The boys were positive, though. It was producer Jeff. It was Sean. It was Frankie. Something good happened, right? This is a good. Winning the draft lottery is a positive thing, is it not?
Man, I'll tell you what. All the fantasy hockey fans out there that think their general manager can wheel and deal the way you can on Yahoo Sports, and there's a lot of Leaf fans like that. I know them. Like, they're in my community.
Yeah, you're related to some of them. Yeah.
I'm related to a lot of them. I hear from them frequently. This is your time to shine. This is your time to shine, because all those crazy offers and options that you think about at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep because the Leafs haven't won a cup since 1967, those babies are on the table now. And this is your time to figure out how John Chayka and Matt Sundin are going to fix the Leafs, because they now finally have legitimate options.
They had, up until last night, they had the task in front of them of fixing this team, and they had exactly 0 assets to work with to make that happen. And now that number has moved up to 1.
It's a big
We did
one.
it, boys. Here we go.
Are we Frank, let's go back to you on that. Like, would you just flat out, are you making the pick or are you trading it?
Well, okay. I look at it this way, and this is going to be a long answer, but I'll try and get you the Coles notes.
I don't care, man. This isn't
right.
me. Like, you
CJ, our pal CJ comes out with a report that Auston Matthews is contemplating whether he's coming back in the fall or not. So clearly, like, he has had more than just preliminary thoughts of where his career looks like it's headed. Now you get this first overall pick. You've been given this lifeline, this life raft, and you can do something with it. Do you trade it? Do you keep it? If you keep it, what does that mean for Auston Matthews? If you trade it, what does that mean for, the here and now of the team? So if you think that Matthews is going to leave anyways, would you not look at this and say, we're going to keep the pick. We're going to draft McKenna. We're going to trade Matthews 2 years out from his contract expiring, and we're going to get, I don't know, look at any organization that he might want to go to, whether it's San Jose or Utah or wherever, and say, we want Michael Misa, or we want TJ Ginla, and we want Simashev, and we want Dickinson, and we want a first-round pick, and that's part one. Then you have McKenna, player A, B, that are all 20 to 22 that are going to be very good in the league. So you got 3 pieces. Then you turn to William Nylander and you say, listen, Matthews is moving on. We're going with a new core here. We're gonna go young, early 20s guys. Then you do the same deal somewhere for William Nylander, and it might not be exactly the same, but you're going to get a good package in return for Willie. He's one of the best wingers in the NHL. So you turn to your fan base after that and you say, we tried it with the core. It didn't work. Here's our new core. It's Gavin McKenna, and it's player A and B from this team, player X and Y from this team, and we have 5 early 20s, late teens studs that we're going to go with here. And we might miss the playoffs next year, but we're not going to miss the playoffs for very long with this new core group, and we're going to try and be good again for the next 10 years. Is that not how you would play this out if you were thinking long term?
McIndoe.
You lost me at thinking long term with this group we got assembled. Look, that makes a lot of sense, what you just said. That is, and at the end of the day, Auston Matthews holds the cards here. So, and I got to say, The fact that indirectly, but through CJ, who we all trust, we kind of got the message that Matthews is wait and see even on next season. That's a big deal. Like, I got to be honest, if that news came out about Connor McDavid or Brady Tkachuk or, somebody, I would be waving my arms around going, guys, that's a lot of smoke. We should maybe check if there's fire here. So the fact that it was with Matthews, that has to be a concern. Does this change it? I don't know. Maybe it does. The Leafs have got a ton of needs on this roster, but from Auston Matthews' perspective, the number one need is probably I need a winger, so I'm not dragging, Bobby McCann and Max Domi's of the world up and down the ice all the time. And now you've got your guy, and it's simplistic to say that you take a shifty, skilled winger like McKenna, and that's your new Mitch Marner. But it's kind of your new Mitch Marner. Like, as a best case, maybe is a better way to put it.
Offensively, I don't think that's
without the defensive side, but offensively he can fit in there. And does that move the needle for Auston Matthews? It might. It also might not. It might be Auston Matthews going, oh great, so I've got to babysit a teenager for a couple of years while we're waiting. And keep in mind, the Matthew Schaefers of the world aside, guys rarely have a big impact in year one, sometimes not even in year two. And McKenna's viewed as a good prospect, but he's not at that level of a guy where, we're expecting him to come in and be Crosby or McDavid or what people thought Connor Bedard was going to be. So it's tough to say. And the thing with Auston Matthews is, if you're the Leafs, best case is he says, I love it. I'm in. I want to be part of this. I buy the vision. Can't wait till next summer when I can sign an extension, all that stuff. Okay, great. That's the best case. The not as good case, but not terrible case, is one that is kind of Frankie was alluding to, which is Auston Matthews says, I'm not really in. I'd like to explore somewhere else. Trade me, but I'm willing to go to a bunch of different places, which is what you need in order to get those kind of packages that Frankie's talking about. The worst case is Auston Matthews says, I'm out. I don't want to be here. And here's my list of 3 teams or 2 teams or 1 team that I'm willing to go to. And at that point, you don't, unless you're willing to get really ugly about it, you don't really have any options. You're up the creek at that point, and you're basically paying the tax on all the mistakes of the past coming due at the same time. So that is a question. What does Auston Matthews think about this, and how can this new management group that I feel like we all had strong opinions on up until last night at about 7:15?
We're just distracted now.
We are distracted. And look, there's
it made those guys smart.
Two things
they
can
weren't
be
before.
True.
They are now.
2 things can be true. Number one, whatever you thought of John Chaika and Matt Sundin and Keith Pelly and the press conference and the process and who they talked to and how they did this and how they wound up where they did, any feelings you had on that leading up to Monday, while you were watching the press conference, in the hours afterwards, none of that changes because some ping pong balls bounced. Okay? Nobody got smarter. Nobody got, if anything, if you thought we had a bunch of dummies running this team, now you just got a bunch of dummies who are a little bit emboldened and think the plan is already working. So that didn't change anything about that group. But as far as the future and what the roadmap looked like for this team, it did change some things. And it does suddenly take this group that not a lot of us had much confidence in and give them, I wouldn't even say an easier path, but maybe now there's a manageable
There's a workable path.
As opposed to expecting the impossible, which is get this junk heap of a roster back into contention overnight because ... magic beans ?
It makes the situation with Matthews manageable, like regardless of what happens.
Maybe.
Yeah, I I'll go with maybe on that, but you can see the path forward though, and I think they're all workable now. If it's a situation where, if we're at the draft or at free agency and there's even more smoke around them, maybe Matthews wants to explore his future stuff, then okay. And if he wants to stick, okay. And the path that's available now, which I don't think would have been available 24 hours ago, frankly, is that you can play it both ways. You can have a year here where you don't have any ultimate resolution with Matthews. If he tells you, let's wait and see, let's see how this goes. That is an option now in a way that it wasn't before, because you see how things work with McKenna, you see how things work with the new management team, you see what the vibe is just more generally with Matthews, and I guess to a lesser degree Nylander, how they respond to it, how they feel about it, what the team looks like, what the roster looks like after a full off season's worth of work, what it looks like after a season's worth of games. And that, to me, is when the plan that Frankie talked about before, assuming that Matthews is healthy enough to not completely nuke his value, next summer is when you start talking about that. That's when it turns into, are we extending Auston Matthews? Are we keeping Nylander around? Are we turning this into those guys with McKenna plus whatever stuff you add? Or is that when the blow up happens? Is that when the rebuild happens? Is that when you try to trade Auston Matthews for Michael Misa or Beckett Seneca or one of those kind of a package led by those sort of players, and then you have your post Matthews McKenna core. So I think that makes sense now in a way that it didn't before either, because there was no intermediate route. It was either you got to try to decide on the 30-year-olds now, or in one way or another, and enjoy having the fifth pick in the draft or whatever we were looking at before. I think this opens up a route that wasn't present previously.
The other thing it kind of does, and this is maybe more psychological than anything else, but it does make it feel a little bit more palatable, especially if next year goes sideways, to just do the tear it down rebuild, because the thing looming over that has always been, you don't have your next two picks. They're going to Boston and Philly. So what can you really do? What, are you going to bottom out? And you don't get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for doing that. And now, you already got your pot of gold, in the sense that you got a first overall pick. Lots of teams bottom out for 2 years and never get the first overall pick because the lottery just doesn't bounce that way for them. So you already got it. It would be nice to get a couple more high picks, but you've got something now to build around, and that something is not whoever they would have got at fifth this year, if they had kept the pick and stayed where they were, would have been a good player, but would it be a building block that you can do the whole team around?
It's different for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just kind of gives permission. It sort of opens up a few more options. Again, does it change it from from a roster building theory all that much? Probably not, but just the psychology and frankly, just of the fan base, just the vibe was so negative yesterday. I mean, there were points yesterday where I actually found myself thinking, are there scenarios where John Chayka doesn't make it to opening night? Is it going to get this bad? And now, through absolutely no credit to anyone, other than just pure dumb luck, it's better now. And you're starting to see the fans are kind of, okay, we're so back, all of that, and a lot of it's tongue in cheek and having some fun with it, but it buys them maybe a little bit more time, a little bit more credibility, and after Monday afternoon, they needed any ounce of credibility they could get, because it felt like it was about to get real ugly real fast.
Yeah, and okay, so we started the show kind of talking about how if you were a hardcore Leafs fan and you have all these wild, imaginative ideas, now's your time to let them run free. So I wonder this. I wonder if none of it matters for Auston Matthews anyways. I just wonder if John Chayka being the GM is the non-starter. And it's like, good for you guys. Like, it's great that the organization's going to get the first overall pick. Like, John Chayka is not my cup of tea. Like, remember when Shane Doan was brought into the organization? Yep. Shane Doan was brought in with the hopes of kind of helping Auston Matthews stick around for the long term. Shane Doan was Auston Matthews' hockey hero out in the desert. We know the story now that John Chayka was the GM, didn't bring back Shane Doan when he was willing to come back and do whatever, push pucks in practice, you name it. He just wanted to be there, and that wasn't the case. So chances are Shane Doan is probably elsewhere very soon. So, and optics and PR are very important in a big market. So if you're the Matthews camp, how can you use this to your advantage and plan the best, most graceful exit possible? Because you always say in life, leave it better than how you got it, and don't leave the room smelling like you know what. So if you were the Matthews camp, you could look at this and say, okay, didn't want to play for this GM anyways, didn't have interest in what his vision was going to be, don't believe in him. These guys are getting the first overall pick now. Well, that's great. I can give them 2 years notice that I'm not going to re-sign there. So they have plenty of time to make a substantial deal, because whatever team wants to acquire me, and I'm going to give them a list of 5 teams, let's say, that they can work with, that I would sign with, they're going to give them a good package because they're getting 2 years plus whatever extension I'm potentially going to sign there. Like, the Matthews camp, if they really did not want to be here, they could leverage this situation to make it a PR, like, sweetheart of a deal for them as they exit the door. And it's not Matthews getting pitchforked on his way out. It's like, he gave you advance notice. You know, you got the first overall pick. You're going to get a great package for him. And he didn't leave the organization in a worse spot than when he got there, which I can attest to was not in a good spot when he got there. So they could really leverage it if they really had no interest in coming back.
Yeah, I do think it's a situation where if he were to get to the point where it's like, okay, this is not like, I'm not going to sign another deal here. I think it's very feasible that it would be, here's a list of 5, not a list of 2, not a list of 1. I think you know, it would surprise me if it got to that point and if he really hamstrung him. So you know, there's an exit route. There's also a world where, you know, everything works out too. And I don't think that was available to them 15 hours ago.
There's a world where everything works out and Auston Matthews stays and this team like is a wild card. I like, we got to be clear on what working out feels like for where they've still got a mountain to climb, but at least now they've got a little pickaxe and a little bit of rope, to get them started. Instead of Keith Pelly going like, "All right, do it. Here's some flip flops. Go get it done."
This is the rock hammer. This is the Andy Dufresne rock hammer that he's using to dig his way out.
And like, Chayka's been asked, right? Like, he's done a couple sit downs recently, and he's been asked where do you need to address the organization first? And the first thing he's said is
very funny.
Right? Like, what's the first thing that sticks out? Blue line. He said it at least twice that I've heard. So are you going to take Chase Reed first or Carson Karls first? I mean, it feels like if you really wanted to get creative with this pick, is there a world where you could trade down a pick or 2 so you could draft a defenseman and then get something that helps you, who's a really good early 20s player? Like,
what would you guys think if he did that? Like, as a Leafs alum and as the internet's most famous Leafs fan, like,
I would think these guys mean business.
Here? What?
Right? Like, I think they mean, like, these guys are creative and they're willing to be cutting edge and try some things that are out of the norm, something that the previous
illegal under NHL bylaws.
Yes, totally. That's what I would think.
We're talking about, the Leafs won the lottery. Whenever a team wins the lottery, that means a bunch of other teams didn't win, and you get a bunch of complaining. And I'm hearing some not unjustified complaining coming from our friends out west in Vancouver, saying this was, and look, The Canucks deserved the number 1 overall pick. I'll say that with no problem. They were the worst team in the league by a mile. They weren't tanking. They didn't do any of that. They were trying to win. The Quinn Hughes stuff happened. It just all fell apart. The Canucks deserved the first overall pick. They didn't get it from the lottery. Okay, now what? You're going to sit around? You're going to complain? Or are you going to do what a GM in Vancouver did back in 1999 when he wanted some high picks, when Brian Burke looked at the Sedins and said, I want both those guys, and he made it happen. He figured it out. He sat down, he made a whole bunch of trades, got everyone together on the draft floor, wrangled it all together, and he got it done. Now, different era, all that stuff, sure, of course. And I'm not saying Brian Burke was the model GM that everyone needs to follow, but Brian Burke wouldn't have sat around going, oh, the lottery didn't cooperate. I guess I just have to go, hey, Vancouver, you got a number 3 pick. Maybe could that get flipped to 2 or even 1? It probably could. Get on the phone. Let's go. We'll have a couple of new. We got Chaika and to be determined in Vancouver.
Yeah, who's Chaika calling on the phone? That's the
you got
not
nobody
Jimmy
to
Rutherford.
Well, you call Rutherford, right? Rutherford's running the show there, anyways. And so you call up Rutherford and you go, hey man, I heard, what's this about? You're retiring. You're stepping back after the draft. Oh, that's a tough one. Boy, it'd be nice to go out with a splash, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice
One more
to just
for old
drop a
time's
new
sake.
Yeah,
thing?
man.
There's places and you know the same. Whoever's 4, 5, 6 on down the line. Oh, we didn't get the pick we wanted. All right, pick up the phone, call up the Wonder Kid in Toronto. Get this all figured out. Type into ChatGPT what would the Leafs want for the first overall pick and whatever. I mean, that's what they're going by. So there's a way to get this done if teams are motivated to get something done instead of just sitting around on their hands making excuses about how some ping pong balls screwed them over.
I think that's the other big bit of news that come out of last night is that before barely after the ping pong balls dropped, we got news out of Vancouver that Jim Rutherford's going to transition to alternate governor role. He's going to step back and blah blah blah. So there's no one at the top of that organization right now, Frankie. It's allegedly.
What a day for Canucks fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like first of all, it's been a whirlwind couple days for them because I'm sure you guys saw the reactions in Canucks Twitter, which is a wild place at the best of times.
Possibly the wildest, I think.
Yeah.
I think Canucks Twitter might still lead the league in craziness per 60.
100%. And so they catch wind that Francesco Aquilini loves Pierre Dorion, essentially, and there's a good chance he's going to be the GM, and people lose their mind out there. And then they lose the draft lottery, but they lose the draft lottery to Toronto, who they hate. They hate Toronto more than they like themselves. That's how deep it goes out in Vancouver. Like, people don't understand that, I think, unless you've experienced it. Like, I always tell people this, that when I got drafted out there, people would say this to me all the time, like locals or whatever who I met, like, it must be weird for you being out in Vancouver. I said, why? Well, because, we hate you guys so much in Toronto. I said, really? You guys hate us? Like, yeah,
me?
you guys don't hate, like, I'm like, no, we don't think about you at all. And that's why we hate you. Anyways, so it was the worst possible scenario for Canucks fans, but I did see the hysteria surrounding Pierre Dorion. Listen, was Pierre always the most comfortable in front of the camera? No. Did he say the right things most times in front of the camera?
No.
Again, no.
Was he good at his job? No.
He was good at aspects of his job, okay? Keep in mind where Vancouver is right now. Vancouver's in a spot where they're going to have to pick a lot. Like, they have to make a lot of draft picks, and they're going to have to hit on some draft picks. At the very least, Pierre is a good evaluator of talent and has ran good drafts on a limited budget in Ottawa. They don't have a huge, kind of amateur scouting budget. So if you go through the history, listen, not everyone bats 1,000%, but in looking back at things, he drafted Drake Batherson in the 4th round. He drafted Brady. After that, he drafted Shane Pinto in the 2nd round, Mark Kastelik in the 5th round. The 2020 draft might have been a masterclass. Stützle, Sanderson, Gregg, all in the 1st round. Clevin in the 2nd. Marilainen in the 3rd. Cole Reinhardt, who's having some success in the 6th round. where the big miss was at 10 in 2021 with Tyler Boucher. But I guess what I'm saying is, at the very least, he can evaluate and run drafts and pick good talent. And if he does that, let's say he's in your organization for 3 years and he does that, look what he left for Steve Stais. Yeah, he left him a pile of poo with the Dadonov thing. They had to figure that out. But he left the core of the team there for them to make the playoffs. So it's a
very successful core, too. They've won a ton of playoff games.
Not recently, no. Not recently. Yeah.
I will say this. The other thing being here in Ottawa, Pierre Dorion's, you're right. He was very good drafting. Decent. Well, I would say very hit and miss on trades, but he won the Erik Karlsson deal, which nobody at the time, remember, we were all making fun of him, 5 assets or whatever it was. He won that trade, but his number one skill with a bullet, managing up to the idiot owner. In Vancouver, I'm not saying, but yeah, that was fascinating yesterday watching, because it felt like what we saw yesterday was a trial balloon being released up into the air, and then an entire fan base just pulling out like the duck hunter light guns and just absolutely blowing that trial balloon out of the air and sending it plummeting to the ground. Because by the time the lottery rolled around, we were getting reports that Dorion was out. We'll see how it goes, but that might be an all-timer trial balloon. And hey, question was asked, answer was delivered. Do with that information what you want now, I guess, Vancouver.
I want to ask Pierre, because I see him around sometimes. He works for RDS, and I've never asked him this, but I'm going to try to when I see him again. When we all went home when COVID happened, it took a little while, but eventually we did exit meetings, which, on Zoom, which I thought were kind of pointless at the time. It could have just been a phone call with, Peter McTavish, who was the assistant GM, and he was running Belleville. But it turned out it was Peter, Pierre, the head coach, and I think Sean, the other AGM, and it was all on Zoom. And I didn't go on with my video. And so I log on, and Peter goes, "Frankie, can you turn on your video?" I said, "No problem, guys." And I turn it on, and I'm on like the 4th hole at Rattlesnake.
I was going to say, what course were you on?
And they all look at me, and they're like, "We'll keep this brief for you." I'm like, "Thank you,
thank you."
I had a putt coming
much
up
appreciated.
Over there.
Yeah. You're like, I don't do I still have to hit mute and pretend I'm not about to take my tee shot here?
Can you imagine if they're doing some kind of evaluation? I just went, "Guys, hold on. I just got it. It's my turn here. I got to hit my shot." I got to ask him about that. I bet he doesn't even remember, because there's probably 8 other guys that were on the golf course that day too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were not the only one who was logging into Zoom from that environment. All right, let's take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about game 2 of Minnesota, Colorado, maybe a couple other things. Stick around. All right, we're back. Fellas, game 2 of Minnesota, Colorado. I thought we were going to get another 9-6 game very, very briefly there. We saw 2 goals in 6 seconds. That's not what ended up happening. 5-2 Colorado. They go up 2-0 in that series. I think that game, more than anything, is about the Wild goaltending situation. Philip Gustafsson comes in, allows 5 total on 23. They weren't all bad, but a couple of them sure were. They move on. They move on from Wallstedt, at least for a game. Yes, it was bad. He'd been incredible for them in the postseason up to that point. The second guessing, quite fairly, is taking place right now. There's a piece up on the site from Russo and Joe Smith saying as much. Where are we at this? As a group, because I tend to agree with the Minnesota beat guys that this was an unforced error on John Hynes' part.
Well, it was, and answer me this: in a game where your goalie gives up 9, you would have it in the back of your head that at some point you might want to go to the other guy, and in this case, it's Gustafsson, who hasn't played in over 20 days.
Mm-hmm.
So your goalie's giving up 9, even once your goalie gets to 5 or 6, don't you start to think, well, maybe if I put Gus in, finish this game is what it is. It's game 1 of the series. It's flip a coin. that helps him for the next game instead of throwing him out to McKinnon to feast on him and Natchez. Like, McKinnon basically had a signature game last night. Like, I think that was a little short-sighted of them. It's a freebie pull when the game is going like that. And at the very least, it gives the guy a rep or two just to feel game action instead of throwing him in like that.
It does, except game one was just so weird because your guy gives up 9 goals, and yet at no point were you out of that game, right? I mean, you would expect, yes, when time you get to like goal number 7, get your guy out of there.
7-5. That's the one. It's 7-5 in the game.
But then it's 7-5, right? And you bring in a guy, and if Gustafsson comes in and gives up a softie, you're saying, "Oh man, you guys were right in the game. You were right there." And you tweet. I don't know. This is the sort of thing where it didn't work. Obviously, Gustafsson wasn't great last night, and now what do you do? Because now you don't really have confidence in either guy, and Colorado's offense is in your head, and it's a mess. But it's tough. Your guy gave up 9 goals. It's not unreasonable to say we're going to give the other guy who's pretty good and has been pretty good for you for the last couple of years. We're going to give him a shot at it. But it is tough in Minnesota. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Jesse Granger had a real interesting tweet where he was looking at how far back you have to go to find a team that won the Stanley Cup while choosing to use multiple goalies in the same offseason. And you got to go back a ways. It ends up being Washington in 2018. Bobrovsky played every game. Vasilevsky played every game. Binnington played every game. Colorado and Vegas did switch goalies at some point in their cup runs, but that was because of injury. It wasn't because the coach said, we like this guy better than that guy. It's the old cliche about if you have 2 goalies, you don't have one. Hey, there's a lot of teams that would prefer to have 2 goalies over the 0 that they have now, but it's tough when you find yourself teetering back and forth, and now it's 2-0, and you've been in the series. Like this is not, you're not getting your doors blown off here, in the sense that the Wild have shown they can play with the Avalanche, but playing with them and beating them are 2 different things. And yeah, the goaltending is the big question right now. And I mean, it's if we go out there for game 3 and the first shot goes in, even if it's not a bad goal, even if it's a bounce or a snipe or something, we know that camera is going to the backup on the bench. That camera is going to the goalie, the coach, the goaltender looking at the bench, that sort of thing. We know how this script goes, and it rarely works out well for a team.
It's a thought I had whenever Chris Knobloch was talking about going to Tristan Jarry went for that game against Anaheim, and he tried to justify it by saying, like, look, hey, we see it across the league. We knew coming into this that we were going to play 2 goalies regardless. Like, we're happy with both guys we have. Blah 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 blah. He does the whole, the PR massaging of the situation, and he's saying that. I'm like, I not really though. Like, I get that teams do timeshares in the regular season, and I get that we've seen. Like Jesse outlined, guys take over for injury and whatever. But if you are coming into a situation, whether it's a series, whether it's the playoffs at large, being like, yeah, we're probably going to play both guys in this over the course of the next 10 days, that's not a spot where you want to be in. Like, you can convince yourself of it. Like, you can try to spin it whatever way you want, but that's still not the way it works once April and May and June come around.
It's interesting how.
Sorry, Frankie. Can we just mention how weird the goaltending is in the second round? Our buddy Ryan Lambert made a point to me yesterday that I found interesting. Do you guys know how many goalies who are starting in the second round have ever had a Vezina vote? Even so much as 1 Vezina vote? I'll give you the whole list.
Like a first place vote? Or
no, not even
on
first
a
place.
ballot.
On a ballot.
On the ballot.
I'll give you the whole list. All right, you ready? It's Freddy Andersen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And Freddy Andersen.
That's the list. What world are we in when playoff Freddy Andersen is the gold standard for your goaltending.
Well, Freddie's looked great actually.
He's been really good.
Fantastic.
He's been really. It looks like Anaheim Freddie. And you know what's a shame?
Who's got the reputation? He's the one lock, and everyone else is. And I mean, if you're Stan Bowman, you got to be tearing where your hair would be if you had any out, because you're sitting there going, everyone's bashing me because I didn't get a goalie. Nobody's got a goalie, and everyone's got good enough goaltending. Nobody's got the superstars. No Vasilevsky out, no Swayman's out, Ottinger's out. You all go down the list, and not even getting into the guys who didn't even make it. It's such a weird position. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes the weirdness works for you, and sometimes you're the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, like Freddie was really good at Anaheim, but Jonathan Quick was better. And then he got traded to Toronto, and he played on some porous teams in Toronto, where just eventually the dam was going to break. And now he's playing well, so I'm happy for Freddie. But I think it's interesting how narratives can shift over time, because DGB, you take us back to the Washington Capitals using Grubauer and Holtby. Well, the season before, it was Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury. Mm-hmm. And the season before that, it was Jeff Zatkoff and Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury.
The Jeff Zatkoff game against the Rangers. That's still one of the craziest. One of the craziest things I've ever been in the building for.
If we had this conversation in 2019, we would be saying, the days of a number one guy playing all 22 games, it's over. We have 3 years of evidence of sample size where you need both guys, the wear and tear, just the unpredictability of the position. But it has gone the other way. The pendulum has swung because of Bobrovsky, because of Vasilevsky. But I still think there is a world where, we've seen this. We've had these conversations the other way before. So I'm not saying it can't be done. Ultimately, it depends more on what's happening in front of the goalie than just the goalie itself. Because there were times in those series where the team wasn't playing well and they had to make a change. And it wasn't just the goaltending. And that sparked something. So I'll be hard-pressed to believe that happens for Minnesota against Colorado. It feels like anyways, they're going to go to the conference final without losing a game. That's kind of what it feels like. So they're in tough, but I don't know. We'll see what they go with. I think if you went with Gustafsson, you probably want to go with Gustafsson again.
Yeah.
Or else why even go with him? Just your pot committed to Wallstedt at that point. But maybe the night off gives them a chance. It's a tricky thing to navigate.
Yeah, they made a mess of it. That's kind of what it boils down to. All right, we got 2 games tonight. We got Montreal, Buffalo, Anaheim, Vegas. Let's start with game 1 of Sabres Canadiens. Quick thoughts, Frankie. Where are we on that? Let's do some picks. How do we see this one playing out today?
Let's say Habs in 7. I think this one goes the distance. I think it's close, but not low scoring close. I think it's high scoring close, and it's going to be different for Montreal, right? Like McDonough and Chernak, they were gobbling up Caulfield and Suzuki in the corner. Cirelli was all over Suzuki. Those characters are not really in this series. Where it's different is Dahlin and Byram and Power. They're really mobile and they're up the ice and they're engaged in the offensive zone. So you have to be aware. So what you will gain in space for your top guys in this series, you will have to be equally as aware of their mobile blue line and how that can hurt you. But I think it's close in the sense that it's a lot of 4-3, 5-4 kind of games.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think this series could be the most fun of any series, and we had some good ones in the first round. So I'm putting pressure on them, but all the ingredients are there for this to get really volatile. And I'm kind of with Frankie that I see it going long. I see it being, not high scoring, but not the. I don't think we're getting the 1-0 game like we had in the Tampa series, and I think it's going to be all sorts of fun to watch and to just to get into and kind of watch these two teams go at it. I am kind of not to look too far ahead. I'm kind of fascinated by the idea that everyone's picking this series to go 7. And I think it does too. I'm picking that as well. Meanwhile, we got Carolina on their way to a sweep of the Flyers, and they're already 2 games ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, welcome to the party, Montreal and Buffalo. How long, if Carolina ends that series in 4, are they going to have 2 weeks in between that and the conference?
I'm psyched. I'm psyched at the prospect of that because I can actually go home for a couple days. That'd be
Well, I mean,
that'd be nice.
We'll get you to Buffalo. We can make that happen.
Eight days in Buffalo when I'm just like waiting for that series to start. Yeah, I could make that.
That would be fun. This is going to be a good one. I can't wait. Buffalo, the easiest team to root for. Montreal, also a very easy team to root for, but I think they're playing the heel in this series, so we'll see how that goes over. Both the buildings are going to be rocking. It's 1980s Adams division energy. This has the potential to be an A+ series.
I believe in Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky. I think that's what it comes down to for me. They were not good at 5-on-5 against Tampa. That's fine. Ain't playing Tampa no more. This is a different setup. I think those guys, much as it pains me, much as we've talked about the Sabres a lot. We talked about them consistently, even when things were going badly. I think we all have some degree of fondness for that team. I don't think I can get there with them, but we'll see, man. It's going to be fun. Patrick division and energy. Like, I'll take it. Frankie, what's going on for you this week, man? Are you
actually
light week? I hope so.
Lighter week, yeah. Day off today and tomorrow. I'm actually going to do a CTV news hit with my buddy Matt Scooby in about 45 minutes. So hopping on the Real News channel to talk.
Go put on a tie, bud. What is this? You can't get away with a hoodie.
No, you gotta throw on a tie. But actually, kind of getting ready now for Memorial Cup, which is coming around the corner. CHL heading into their championship series, so should be fun, boys, and always look forward to catching up.
Love it. Talk to you next week, man. All right, Sean McInerney, we are back. I would like to tell you something that I've learned.
What have we learned, Sean?
I've learned that we are going to learn something about the Anaheim Ducks tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights, because what we saw from them after Game 1, there's a controversial icing situation there. They were pissed. Joel Quenneville pissed. Everybody's pissed. I don't think we saw them get mad against Edmonton to that degree at any point. Yeah, they lose Game 1. I was around for that. I didn't get the sense that there was any degree of frustration there. And then from then on out, there was no frustration at all in that series for them. I think they're in a different spot now. And I think when because they play tonight, I believe it's at 9:30 Eastern. When that goes down, I think they're going to find themselves in a spot that they haven't been in. And that's always what the playoffs are like for teams that are doing it for the first time, right? You see them respond to different situations. Every game's different and yada, yada. But that's a cliche, but I think especially for a team that's getting its first protracted, run in the playoffs, and that's certainly where the Ducks are. I think it's worth watching how they respond to different circumstances and in different situations. And this is one that they haven't faced yet because they were mad after Game 1, and it was understandable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think you put it perfectly in something you wrote about Carolina in the series you're covering, where you said any team can win the cup when things are going well.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to win when things aren't going well. And Carolina showed they can do that. Now we find out if Anaheim did. Shout out to the hockey gods, by the way. I was getting a little tired of offside reviews and interference controversies.
Uh-huh.
And they've mixed it up. They've given us is the puck over the goal line in the first round. And now I guess we're doing icing. We're going to get mad over icing. That's fun. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen in the conference final, but maybe we'll get face-off violations. Will be the
oh my god! By the way, just it's funny you brought that up. I don't know. It'll be a different crew officiating Canes Flyers whenever that happens on Thursday. It was absolutely egregious how long it was taking those guys to drop the puck. It was incredible.
Sean,
so
we have to get it right,
dude.
Do you not understand? The game, the rule book doesn't serve the game. The game serves the rule book. We have to get everything exactly right. I've said for years, we should be doing replay review on those face-offs, there's always somebody with their foot over the line. We can wipe every goal off the board.
Brindamore is going to say it. He might say that if face-off stuff starts to creep in, he's gonna find some way to say that it should be reviewed. Because
I've been saying for years that is going to happen someday. There is going to be one where it's going to be so obvious, and then it's going to start the same way. Someone's going to go, "Guy, I mean, couldn't somebody just do a quick
I'm telling you,
replay,
Brindamore is a
guy. We just lower a guy Mission Impossible style down, and he hangs over the ice, and he just yells down to the refs if they miss anything. Like we have to get it right."
That is unironically what Rod Brindamore believes. He thinks that everything should be reviewed. He thinks that high stick should be reviewed. He said it again yesterday. Like he's like, I don't just have a guy who looks at it.
Don't let Selke winners become coaches in the NHL.
Ban all Selke winners from the Coaches Association.
Here's what I learned this week. I feel like we didn't talk enough about the Maple Leafs so far on this week's show, so I'm going to just throw out there that what I learned is that apparently it is possible to make trades in the NHL and have the NHL not really be sure
what the trade is
and to who. Because we found out this week, and our own Kevin Kurz was the first one that I saw it from, that apparently there is a custody dispute happening now between the Flyers and the Bruins over this next Maple Leafs first round pick. Because, of course, the fact that the Leafs did not lose their pick last night means that the next two go to Boston and Philly, we thought. But maybe the next two go to Philly and Boston because there's some dispute over who owns which one. And all I know is that anytime an NHL team makes a trade, I'm told that there's this incredibly elaborate process where 47 people have to get on a phone call and it all has to be worked out and all these details. But apparently you can still be in a situation like the Leafs where they made these two trades and I guess the conditions aren't clear or something is worded in a way or it's open to interpretation. And we don't know who gets this year's Leafs pick and who gets next year. We know the Leafs don't have either of them. We know Boston and Philly are getting one each, but we don't know who's got whose. And it doesn't seem to me like in a professionally well-run league that this sort of thing should be able to happen, but here we are.
You know what the league should do? They should punish both teams involved because that's how they roll. Mm-hmm. Whenever something happens that they should have a handle on, whether it's the Dadonov situation, whether it's cap circumvention way back when with backdiving contracts and Ilya Kovalchuk and whatever, they just punish the teams for doing it. They say this wasn't our fault. Sure, we let it happen, but this is on you guys. Actually,
First thing you do is you got to take a draft pick away from the Senators.
Clearly.
Just to send a message, just to let everyone know you're serious. And then I just, you know what? I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really care how it works out. But I think if this whole thing was this badly screwed up, you know what? We just scrap the trades entirely. Just give everything back. Brandon Carlo goes back to the Bruins. The Leafs get their picks back. I don't know what we do with Scott Laughton, but I mean, we'll figure that out. And we just start over again. And if you want to renegotiate, if you can find Brad Treliving, go ahead. But I think we just got to start over entirely. I think that's just what's fair for everyone, and I'm all about being fair and getting it right.
Just ask Rod, and if it doesn't work out, then whoever gets drafted next year, maybe the Flyers and in Boston can split custody. They can do
there you go. Get weekends and
awkward kid
handoffs in parking lots at Chuck E. Cheese.
Wednesdays and weekends for one, every other day for everyone else, and you split up holidays accordingly. I think that's how it worked for me. What's up with you this week, man?
So I got had my draft lottery rankings yesterday. Today, I've got a post where I go through all 15 teams who now know where their draft picks are based on the lottery. And I explain why they should trade those picks. Every single one of them. It's an act of utter futility that I do from time to time. Because we know none of these GMs are going to trade anything. But here's my argument for each and every team. And then tomorrow or Friday, going to have a fun one. I don't get to do this one every year, but we're going to look at some games from this season that in hindsight, changed the results of the draft lottery.
The draft lottery week is one of your many times to shine. I feel
it is.
That's when we're getting pure, unfiltered McIndoe.
It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. I get a ton to write about. I'm a Leafs fan. It's the second round of the playoffs, so I'm usually not busy with watching any hockey. Sure. This has been a big week. I've been enjoying it a lot, and let's the comment I hear often when I do the games that change the lottery piece is people write to me and they say, thanks very much, that ruined my week. And 100%. That's really the feedback that I'm looking for anytime I write anything.
As an empath, I'm going to get upset 15 different times here too. So great.
It's going to be exciting.
All right. That's what's coming from McIndoe. I'm back on Thursday for our next show. That's me and Shayna. I am again in Philadelphia for Canes Flyers. We will talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy the games tonight. And again, me and Shayna tomorrow morning. See you then.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.